Hey everybody, I am Rick Gerard. I'll be hosting your presentation today. I want to thank you really quickly for joining the webinar. Today we're going to be talking about the truth about hiring passive talent and recruiting passive talent. So we're going to start in just a minute here as people log on. And I'm really excited to have you guys for about the next 60 minutes. This webinar, by the way, is designed for talent acquisition professionals, headhunters, executive search professionals, really anybody who's in search, including entrepreneurs, startup executives who are doing their own recruiting and they need help getting the best people to join their company. So as we kick in, I'm going to get started. Again, welcome everybody. My name is Rick Gerard. And today I'm going to discuss with you, I'm going to actually give you my winning formula for how I am able to engage 8 out of 10 people contacted, operate at a 4-to-1 interview to placement ratio, and achieve a 98% offer acceptance rate. Now, can we all agree that finding or sourcing people is actually quite easy today? There's a lot of fantastic tools out there that help automate the process to locate and find information on people and even gather their work details and what they've been doing. The challenge is not finding people, but the challenge is getting them to respond to us. So because of this, candidate engagement has become a very hot topic. And this is why I'm going to share with you how I'm able to get these results, how I'm able to get to 8 out of 10 people contacted, 4-to-1 interview to placement ratio, and a 98% offer acceptance rate. So I'm going to open up my book, my truths that I found here, and essentially give you my playbook. So here's the thing. It's really easy to do this. And really what it requires is a shift in your positioning. And I'm going to get into that a little bit deeper in a minute. But when you shift your position, you will absolutely outshine your competition. If you do what other people are not doing, you set yourself apart. And spoiler alert, guys, this is easier than what you're doing now. It takes a lot of time to actually sit down and craft a pitch on a company that you don't even know is going to work. But if you bring somebody through a process the way they liked to be brought through, then it becomes a very, very easy transition. So what's the secret, you ask? Well, let me back up a little bit here. So what do we as talent acquisition professionals, recruiters, hiring authorities do typically? Well, we spend a lot of time crafting a very cleverly crafted pitch. And this showcases all the cool things we're doing, the leadership, the venture capital firm, and basically everything that your company needs. And of course, you can't forget the perks. Everybody has to throw in the perks. You can't leave out the ping pong table. So the problem with the pitch, though, is that by nature, no matter how good it is, it's still transactional. You see, pitches elicit canned responses, and they force us to have to overcome objections. So if you're running into brick walls with people, like the traditional, I'm not really looking right now, or I'm not interested, it's because of your pitch. So what if we eliminate the pitch? What if there was no pitch and you eliminate the transactional component completely from the conversation, your first point of contact? What would that be like? Well, you might ask me, like, what are we going to talk about? Well, there's huge evidence that people want to talk about themselves. And when I can focus and I can reposition and I can focus on what this person wants out of a conversation, then it puts me in a position where I can give before I ask. It puts me in a position where I can understand a person's why. And this is somebody's pain. So the problem with today is that we never really answer what's in it for me. Now, this is a really basic question that marketers and everybody focus on. Like if you're doing employer branding, whatever you're doing, you're trying to guess as to what's in it for the person you're trying to attract. But the truth is, you don't know. You have no clue what this person wants. And then on top of it, what we end up doing is we present perks that are important to us. We present things that essentially we think are going to attract the right person. But here's the problem with that, is that when we pitch, we just come across as selling our own agenda. And the truth is, we don't really care about that person. We care about filling the role. We care about getting the person in the company. But so we pretend to care. And the reason why we pretend to care is because we want to get them hired in our roles. So it's a very selfish approach. And, if you think about it, this is this is evidence in all the words that we used. It's used in our job postings. It's used in our messaging, our verbal communication. We use words like my company, and we're looking for this, and we're special because, and our job, and a lot of me. So with this selfish approach, it's no wonder why people hang up on us. You see, nobody wants to be sold, but we all want to buy. So the goal for this webinar is that I would like you guys to walk out of this with an open mind to a different approach, an unselfish approach to how you recruit for your company. And you'll find when you do that, your company will stand out from your competitors because you're giving somebody candidate experience, which is what everybody wants. People complain about the fact that candidate experience is crappy. Well, it's because we don't invest the time up front having a conversation with the human who's on the other end of the line or sitting in front of you. So my challenge to you is to defy conventional wisdom. Look at what you're doing now and try doing the opposite. What would Google do is not a great tactic for recruiting. I go to a lot of conferences and I talk and I see people all the time. I'll pack the rooms to go hear the recruiter from Google talk, right? And they'll share with you exactly what they do. In fact, they'll teach you. You can do a class probably with them. And they'll teach you how they recruit because they know at the end of the day, if you play their game, they're going to win. So following the leaders in the space and following what everybody else is doing is just silly. So this is why I want you to defy conventional wisdom. This is why I want you to think that there's a better way to do this. So why is this important? Well, it's important because number one, you want your company to succeed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today, or you want to be successful. And number two, when you actually care about the people you're trying to recruit for your company, you elevate your company's value in everyone's eyes. You give great candidate experience. You get offers that are closed very quickly and acceptances like crazy because of the fact that you set yourself apart from everyone else. So the takeaway, if you can take away one thing from today's webinar, just one thing, I want you to question your positioning. Question who your messaging and your reach out serves from the perspective of your audience, your client, your customer. Your customer is who? Well, your customer is that person that you're recruiting. So give customer service number one, and that will completely change the way in which the results that you're getting in your recruiting efforts. So you're in essence turning your recruiting call into a discovery call, and this is far more appealing to your audience. Now, before I get too far into this, I want to make you guys a little bit of a bribe. So if you stay to the end, I have a free gift for you. And this is actually 2 killer LinkedIn message templates. I use them for LinkedIn and email templates that I want to share as a gift to you. They're very simple and personalizable. They're actually the first in a series of 5 kind of drip messages that go through. But they give you an idea of what is going to get somebody attracted. I go it from perspective. It's very, very simple. It's customizable. It's personalizable. And what's cool is it's gotten as high as an 87% response rate through LinkedIn on a very tough project that we were working on in the highly competitive Silicon Valley. So I don't know about you guys, but wouldn't it be really cool if you can get an 87% response rate through LinkedIn Recruiter? Doesn't happen too often anymore. So That's my gift to you. A bit about me. My name is Rick Girard. And like most of us who get into recruiting, I fell into my career after art school. I knew a guy who was doing really well, and the poor, starving artist lifestyle just wasn't working for me. So he recruited me, and it was probably the hardest 6 months of my life in the beginning of my career, but I powered through it and I became very good at it. And I was able to, with my old partner, build a recruiting firm that I exited and moved to Hawaii for 10 years. So now I live and breathe everything that is passive recruiting. Like, I love finding great people, developing them into talent, and then placing them in roles. I mean, this is how I've made my living for most of my career, at least for the past 6+ years. Anyway, I've also helped over 200 tech startups in the Silicon Valley grow. I've worked with companies like Apogee and WhatsApp, and I can go into hundreds of other company names. But companies you've heard of, I've been there in the background finding tech talent for them. So in my spare time, my side hustle, I host the Higher Power Radio show and podcast. I invite you guys all to check it out. And if you, I'm always looking for guests. So if you're interested, let me know. And in my spare time, I am an avid practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as you can see in the picture. I also, I'm into surfing, rock climbing, and when I'm feeling really randy, I'll grab a pair of scissors and run around the hallways here, just cause. But enough about me. I'm not telling you this to brag about myself, but I'm telling you this to establish that I love and I live this craft, and I'm successful at what I do because, number one, I don't chase people. I don't burn a lot of time chasing people, but I'm able to build a balanced life because of the fact that I target and I go after people that, and I get a hold of them, and I develop people that want to be developed. So my aha moment, guys, in recruiting came probably about 8 to 10 years ago. I was having a very frustrating day, like most recruiters do. I had just lost a couple placements or hires. And so, I grabbed a gallon of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I sat down and I watched some old reruns of Seinfeld. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there's an episode of Seinfeld when George Costanza, it's called The Opposite. George did exactly the opposite of what he would normally do on a daily basis. And as a result, what ended up happening was his life completely turned around. So everything that he had initially thought was the right thing to do, he did the opposite of it. And he was able to get himself a girlfriend. He was able to get himself a job with the New York Yankees. And then, of course, he was able to move out of his parents' house. So I thought, man, if it works for George, it's got to work for me. So that was my aha moment. That was the thing that kind of set me down this path to being a contrarian and really kind of setting myself aside from everybody else. So the problem today, and I have this challenge just as much as everybody else, is there's just way too much noise. So again, the problem isn't finding people, it's getting them to engage with us. And people aren't returning calls. So why is this? Well, the storm of employer branding and the barrage of LinkedIn and email messaging has made people tune out. So the good news is, if you're a hiring manager or you're an executive, you got a higher likelihood that somebody's going to respond back to you. So utilize that advantage. But if you're not, and you have access to those people, you can help them to help you recruit people. But on the flip side, standing out from people is really from everybody else is really what's the most important thing. So you need to develop a unique approach to what you're doing. So what's getting attention is being different. It's not send a pitch on your company and the goal is to engage candidates. And creativity is what is opening the door. And positioning is really what closes people on your offer, on your company. So the way in which we do this is simple. Really, just flip the script on what they're expecting. If you can provide a path that's different than what everybody else is providing for them, You're going to engage them in a conversation. They're going to want to talk to you, and they're going to engage. You're going to most likely be able to develop somebody into a candidate. So here's how we lead somebody down the path. Each interaction, I'm focusing on 3 things. Now, these are the core basic principles. These are nothing new that you guys haven't heard, but the fact of the matter is that the way in which it's done is pretty revolutionary. People are not doing that. You guys are not doing this. Most people who are listening to this podcast do not do this. And I know you guys think you do kind of, but you don't. So really, we all ask why, but when you can delve into and discover somebody's pain, this is the key to engagement. So if you know why the person you're talking to is miserable in their current role, before you speak, you will be able to understand what is important to each individual. So if we understand what's important to them, then we can present our opportunity in such a way to highlight how our organization helps fill the voids in their career. And this is simple. Right now, the 3 biggest pain points you're going to find with most people are growth, the quality or lack thereof of the work, and management. So in your messaging, if you create your messaging to open up a pain point, touching on one of those 3 things, then you got a winner. The second piece is desire. Now, desire. Now, this is what a really easy transition from once you understand somebody's pain, then you can get to what they want. And what's interesting is that people will tell you where they're going to be successful. They will tell you their vision of what their next company looks like in their mind. And if somebody tells you what they want to do before you tell them anything about your company, you're learning the truth. And this is really the point of why you're having a conversation. And finally, the third thing is impact, right? So do you really know how good or bad a person is before we bring them in for an interview? The fact is we have no clue, and resumes lie. So my hiring manager friends, my recruiters that are on this webinar right now, we're all biased. We scan resumes for skills and hot buttons, things you like, things you don't like. Oh, this person went to this school. I don't like that school. It's actually silly how we vet people right now. However, when we focused on what somebody's accomplished in their current role, it completely annihilates all of those things. It annihilates bias, and it puts them in a position where you can gather evidence to warrant an interview. So how do we do this? Well, we do this in such a way where we can understand a person's ability to perform and be wildly successful in the role that you're hiring for. And you do that based on finding out what they've accomplished and the impact they've made in their current role, and be able to translate that into essentially the past performance that can transfer over to indicate future performance. So let's talk about the purpose of your call. When you reach out to a person, they finally respond. They say, okay, I'll talk to you. I'll give you 10 minutes. Again, we tend to go into sales mode. We tend to give them a pitch about our company. Guys, this is wrong for so many reasons. Number one, the person's just trying to vet you out, right? So if somebody gives you a few minutes, then again, you're putting yourself in a position where you're not gathering the information that you need. The purpose of your call is to learn the truth of who this person is. You want to learn the truth of who they are as a person and how they're going to align with your cultural and corporate values. Now, I can't even tell you how much time this saves in the long run, but investing time up front allows you to properly qualify and assess talent. Now, when I talked about those 3, the pain, the desire, and the impact points, the truth is that those 3 things are qualifying questions. If people don't mesh with what you're looking for, if they don't line up, you put yourself in a position where you can disqualify that person pretty quickly and know with relatively high certainty that that person's not going to fit. And at the end of it, it puts you in a position where you can ask for referrals. Now, understanding how to position your opportunity so a person sees benefit to join your company, this is what that initial conversation is supposed to be. If you feed me all if a candidate feeds me all the information about where they're going to be successful and the impact they've made and what their pain points are, I'm going to do a pretty good job of being able to present my company to align with those goals. So positioning is key here. Now, an amazing byproduct of our time investment in this phone call is that it allows you to gain market intelligence and referrals. So learning the inner networkings of what's happening with your competitors, or finding out what's going on in other industries, or giving you information so that if you're recruiting out of one company, you can learn all the dirt so you can recruit everybody out of the company. I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff, right? Now, when you take somebody through the process and you decide, hey, look, at this person isn't a good fit, and you guys mutually agree upon it, then it gives you the right to ask for referrals. And when you ask, because you've given before you ask, you will receive referrals. And there's a really quick game in which you can do that, but I extract 2 to 3 names out of every person that we deem not a fit for one of our opportunities. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to dispel some popular beliefs and share some of my truths with you. So I'm going to go right into the first one, which is truth number 1. Recruiting passive talent is actually easier than recruiting active job seekers. Now, I know you're going to ask why. Well, let's look at data first, because data is always what we look at. LinkedIn data, there was a report that came out a few months ago, and according to LinkedIn, 85% of LinkedIn users are open to an opportunity. So that means only 15% of people are totally happy and would not consider a move. However, we usually get about a 15% response rate, and 85% of the people that you reach out to are not responding. So shouldn't that be flipped? So this is proof that people are miserable in their jobs, and all we have to do is just open the door and listen. Now, when we develop passive talent, we have virtually no competition. Now, this is only a short window of time, because once you bring somebody to an active status, oftentimes they will become an active recruit or active candidate. They'll start reaching out to their friends. They'll start checking. They'll start talking to other companies. But you do have a small window of opportunity in which you can create a really proactive, engagement-based environment. Now, when it comes to passive talent, you have to keep in mind, right? Nobody enjoys interviewing. In fact, most people fear it. So with a passive person, we do have the time to build an emotional engagement. We do have the time to connect the dots for that person as to how your opportunity fills their career goals. And that's really what gets people to join your organization. So first, we have to kill the resistance. So how do we do this? When we invest time to understand a person's pain, we understand their trust. We gain their trust. So I know this is difficult when you're busy fighting the daily fires of recruiting or hectic startup life, but when we listen, we learn. Now, I know I sound a little like the Dalai Lama or something here, but when we're able to offer what's desired to a person because they told us, because they let us know what they want to do, and your opportunity is close enough, then what ends up happening is you build an emotional connection between your company and that person. You've elevated your company's perceived value in their mind. And that's really the goal of what you need to do to get somebody to engage. And this is where we get an 8 out of 10 response rate engagement. We're probably getting a little bit higher than that, but I was trying to be safe and believable. But the fact of the matter is when you provide value to people first, before you ask for anything, you have a much different conversation and it kills the resistance. Truth number 2, reviewing resumes is the most ineffective use of time to judge talent. Now, I know we want to tackle everybody's favorite part of the day, which is going through and viewing resumes. But the truth is, reviewing resumes is a terrible way to assess talent. And first off, look at it, it's a lot of work. And this is something we can have an admin do. But more importantly, resumes lie. Now, when I say resumes lie, the fact of the matter is that every bit of content in the resume is usually written to get past your filters, and it doesn't give a whole picture of who a person is. So not only that, we rely way too much on outside sources to get resumes like job boards and that sort of thing, which have the lowest percentage success rate for a successful hire, number one still being referrals. But, sometimes we'll find gems, but contrary to popular belief, there's just not a lot of unicorns out there, especially in this market. And posting your job description and praying that somebody's going to, like a unicorn or a really great person is going to respond to it, is just not happening today either. The fact is you have to go out and identify and find the people that you need to hire for your company. Here's the other truth, guys. High performers hide. They have bad resumes most of the time. I can look at LinkedIn profiles, and the people who have really nothing on that, but just maybe a company name, are usually probably pretty good people. And they don't take the time to fill out their profiles. They don't take the time to fill out their resumes because they don't need to. And when you're good at what you do, when you're an A player, you don't need to do any of that. So they hide. So when you judge people, actually when you find people who are not actively looking, when you find those high performers, you spend less time sifting through resumes and you spend a lot more time maximizing your time on productive activities. When I say productive activities, I mean making offers, building your product, doing things that are going to bring your company along, not sifting through resumes. So as we all know, building your team is hard work. And for entrepreneurs and recruiters and whoever's on this webinar right now, it's important to identify who needs to be hired. So if you have the luxury of a recruiter, take advantage of the fact that that recruiter can probably really delve into and find what your company really needs. But you really need to take advantage of your ability to be intentional about the people you approach. Our goal is to yield a much higher engagement, quality of hire, and ultimately raise the bar on our company performance. So we do this by taking a targeting first approach. Now, I know most of you are going to say, look, I've got 40 recs, and the fact of the matter is I can't target, I can just spray and pray. You actually can target. When I say targeting, we do target, we source, we go after, and we'll maybe pull off 100 people and we'll send them the same email. Now, if somebody gets back to us, then yay, we're happy. But the fact of the matter is that most people are not getting back to us, and the best people are the ones who are not getting back to us. So if we target a small segment and then essentially spend the time picking through them and making sure that you get a hold of each person, then it puts you in a position where you're getting a higher caliber of talent. Now, where do we target? We target referrals and source talent first. Employer referrals, and actually referrals from people that you talk to that aren't a fit for your organization. You should be getting referrals from everybody that you talk to that you don't deem as a fit for your organization. Even people who come via job boards, even people who come through the normal channels. If you have the conversation with them and both you and them agree that it's not a fit, guess what? You're in a great position. Target competitors, and my favorite place to target is actually industry adjacent companies. So when I identify companies, I will actually go after companies that have similar stacks, or companies that actually work under the same methodology or have a similar culture. And I will pull people from that industry because those people are usually looking for a challenge. And if they're in a position where they want growth and they can move industries, boom, now we've got even more reason for them to make a move to our organization. Now you have to be persistent, guys, because if you target 10 people, within 24 hours, you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 responses. The chance of somebody responding back to you after 24 hours is less than 1%. So it's important that you continue to reach out to them. It takes anywhere between 7 and 10 touch points before a response. Now, I'm going to tell you, I tend to target people and I'm very persistent. I had a person that I placed in November that was working in a role. It took me 31 points of contact. It was about 36 days before I got this person on the phone, before we had a conversation. And we were able to develop him into a candidate and ultimately place him at our organization. The reason why I was so persistent is because, number one, I knew he was pretty good. But number two, I don't give up. I just keep going until I get somebody on the phone. Now, if you give up after 10 or 11 times, if you filled the role already, it's not a big deal. However, if you haven't, keep going until the role is filled. The result here is this is how you get yourself to a 4-to-1 interview to placement ratio. When you target people that you deem as being the best person for that company, when you target, you're going to put yourself in a position where that person is most likely, when you target, you're going to put yourself in a position where you need to bring in less people, they're higher quality, and your managers think that you're a rock star hero because of the fact that you brought them 4 people and they hired 1. It saves everybody's time across the board. Truth number 3, the most effective way to recruit is not, and I repeat, guys, not pitching your job, your company, or your perks. Now, we already started with this, which was stop the pitch, but let's talk a little bit about why. So again, we've already explained there's too much noise out there. The main reason why is nobody cares. Nobody cares about the words coming out of your mouth. Nobody cares about your email that you crafted, that you took 25 minutes to customize to that person. Somebody else did the same thing. It's the same repetitive message they're getting over and over again. So we want to create a dialogue that brings value to the person on the other end of the line. And if it requires that you put on your bartender or your therapist hat, then so be it. Do it. Besides, when we pitch, we often use fear words. Now, this often triggers a person's fight or flight response. We have no idea what those triggers are going to be. This is why we often have to overcome objections when we make a presentation, when we pitch. The truth is, the more we talk, the less they trust us. But the more we listen, the more we are trusted. So think about this. I don't know what's gone into that candidate's life that could trigger a response. And, think about maybe when you've had a conversation with a candidate in the past and you thought everything was going great. And you're like, oh, great, I'm going to get this person. And then you say something and all of a sudden they get really quiet and then they have to go. Well, you most likely triggered fight or flight. You most likely said something that essentially got them to get you off the phone. So positioning here is critical. You have to have the right positioning to make sure that this person is going to continue to talk to you, number one, and two, trust you. So how do we do this? Guys, my magic words, I love hearing the phrase, I'm not looking right now, or I'm not interested, or yeah, maybe later, or one version of that. Those are the magic words to me because that tees me off to the fact that, guess what? I've got a passive candidate on the line. He's probably not looking. Yay! So how do we do this? Well, there's a simple methodology that we put together for this. And it runs through our messaging and it runs through our phone calls. And it starts out with a lead opener. I want to just get them talking to me. So as we all know, we have about 7 to 10 seconds to get somebody to lean in. Otherwise, they're going to hang up on us. So you have a really, really high bar of resistance in a phone call, in an email, in really anything for the first 7 to 10 seconds. So once we get past that, what do we need to do? Well, we need to ask a question, and we have a very specific question that we ask, and then we dig for evidence. The question is designed to get the person talking about their pain. And the key here is to listen to understand, not to respond. Listen to understand, not to respond. So when you give before you ask, when you understand a person's life and what's happening with them, and you can provide something that's going to better their lives, then you put yourself in a position where you can get a 98% offer acceptance rate. Because I'm solving a problem for this person that nobody else is solving, because everybody else is trying to sell them. I'm trying to solve their problem. Guys, it's a much, much more rewarding and effective method for recruiting. Again, this is, I'm gonna pose a question to you. Wouldn't it be awesome if you were in a position where the people you were reaching out to really wanted to talk to you, not because of your pitch, so to speak, but because your ability to solve their problems? So they actually see value in what you offer. I know I do. I appreciate the fact that people call me when they're not even looking for a job and they ask my advice. And I give a lot of free advice because of the fact that when I give, I know I get back. So better yet, wouldn't it be awesome if people fed you the truth up front and actually helped you with how to position your opportunity, how to qualify them to make sure they're a fit, and even give you market intelligence and referrals? Or even better yet, what if you can gain credible evidence as to a person's ability before you bring them into your company for an interview? And you can do this by one way, understanding what impact that they've made and how that's going to transfer to your company. And finally, wouldn't it be cool if you didn't have to take a chance on a hire, and hiring decisions were made based on the ability to attract the caliber of talent that your company desperately needs to succeed, based on evidence, not on purely guessing, which is what we do. I like the guy, he likes baseball, I like baseball, let's hire him. I like her because she's got a dog and I have a dog, and yay, she sounds like a great person. I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately, most hires are made based on gut. And so let's fix this. So I'm going to talk to you about how we flip the script. This is part where I give you guys kind of the offer of our workshop that we're teaching. So the foundation of this is the pain, the desire, and the impact. We really get into the psychology behind the technique. The reason why we break it down this way and why it's effective, how it's best positioned, the results of the experience that you've created. This is the core of what we do that allows you to build an emotional engagement to your company by providing what's missing. The second piece of kind of what we do is the framework. And this is the effective messaging and the script. So we've already mapped out the journey. We've created a tested, proven, and proven all the content for you. All you have to do is become comfortable with the mind shift and active listening. And then, of course, the result of hiring exceptional people. So in the messaging, we have effective LinkedIn and email messaging, text messaging, which is effective, and then, of course, what to say on the phone. The LinkedIn and email message, I'm going to give you a sample of what that is today, which some of you laugh, some of you are going to cry. I don't know, but it works, and it works really well. And then finally, the journey. So you don't have to guess on how to do this anymore. You can learn a clearly defined process that allows you to proactively lead themselves through the interview process. By creating a correctly positioned candidate experience, your opportunity becomes far more attractive to passive talent. And then when you get to the offer stage, the monetary compensation becomes almost a non-issue oftentimes. So imagine being in a position where people don't ghost you, they don't lie to you as much, they're proactive and forthright. The offer acceptance is a byproduct of the interview process. Guys, I'm here to tell you this world exists and I live in it. And the truth is you can too. So let me tell you about who this workshop benefits, who it's for and who it's not for. So we developed this workshop specifically for talent acquisition and headhunters who are relationship driven. A lot of our clients too, we work with entrepreneurs, startup founders, and hiring managers because we found that that's always a big challenge in the process is getting hiring managers and startup founders to understand the hiring process, understand why it's important to hire up, why it's important to engage people before you just sling them an offer. And we service primarily startups. We thrive, and I thrive on difficult roles. If you have difficult roles, those are the ones you definitely want to target. Those are the ones you definitely want this process for, because you can't afford to talk to somebody and blow it. And then finally, let's talk about who this is not for. Staffing professionals, anybody who places contractors, search firms. If you've got a high volume shop, this is not a good thing for you because you're not going to be doing much recruiting anyway. Anybody who's a farmer, transactional minded, quantity over quality, or as I was called when I first started recruiting a long time ago, a resume slinging cowboy. It wouldn't have been good for 23-year-old me. So let me tell you a little bit about the workshop. We have a live workshop that we're running. We have 2 more that we're doing, which I'll tell you about in a minute. We also have a course that's coming out on Kajabi in 2 weeks, which you guys can sign up for that as well if you want to do a course on your own time. So the way that the workshop breaks down is it comes into 3 segments. And the live workshop, I think, is far more beneficial than the other training because of the fact that you're going to have an interactive, a highly interactive environment with 12 other people, including myself. So it entails doing role playing and doing some pretty hardcore Q&A. We delved pretty deep into it. We've done about 7, actually less. I'm taking that back. We have our 7th workshop coming up on Thursday. So these have been great workshops. I've been loving the feedback that we've been getting, and people are getting results, which is awesome. So our next available one, we're actually sold out until August 14th at 8 a.m. We have 5 seats available for that. And then on Thursday, August 22nd, we have another one at 8 a.m. as well. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share the offer with you right now. It should be in your chat window if you guys are interested. Would love to have you. So I think Thursday, the 22nd, will probably be our last live one. And we're going to probably just, we've been becoming way too busy. So we're going to probably move it to just once a month after that. But I would love to have you guys join us. So let me tell you a little bit about what the workshop program consists of. So it's a 4-hour workshop with a time commitment. We start at 8 a.m. We go till noon. The goal of the workshop is to get you to a point where you learn in the morning, and then that afternoon you can take all the content you've learned and you can use it. I want you guys to use it, abuse it, and get really good at it. So the 4-hour workshop consists of, again, breaking down the mindset. We talk about the rules of engagement, how to position yourself, how to position your opportunity, how to position your messaging. Then we go through everything from first contact to taking somebody through to a recruit. So we don't go through the whole hiring process. We have another one that we're coming up with. It's the interview process itself. But this gets somebody to a point where they're ready to interview at your company. The second piece of this is the training material, which consists of a course workbook. We have in that course workbook all the LinkedIn and email messaging, a recruiting script, And then the part that I didn't mention before, but it's like, I think it's my favorite part, is the intake framework and assessment form. So this, when you take somebody through a call where you gather their pain, their desire, and their impact, you gather all that information into the intake form, and that seamlessly transforms over to your assessment form, which you give to your managers, and managers love it because you're giving them evidence of why somebody's going to be successful in your organization, and you're building credibility. I found that I get so little resistance when I send somebody over. It results in an interview every time. And then finally, after the workshop is over, we do a one-on-one session. So it's really important to me that you're successful with this content. So after training, what we do is we schedule a time about the week after, and you've gotten some calls under your belt and you got some email messaging out. Then we do troubleshooting, role-playing, and fine-tuning. Not necessarily in that order. We do whatever's needed. But again, it's really important to me that you're going to be successful with this content because I want you to be successful. Now, the other thing that we're going to throw in here, actually, for anybody who's on this webinar, so if you're not sure or you just want to find out more, I am happy to offer a free bonus strategy call. And that bonus strategy call is really to talk about your pain points and to find out whether or not this is for you. If you're not sure, I will tell you pretty openly and honestly whether or not this is something for you. And if it is, great. And if it's not, hey, we'll be good friends. So I can feel some of you wondering what comes next. How much does this cost? Well, I want to tell you a little bit about the value for our clients. We charge $5,600 for our 4-hour workshop. So when we go to companies and we train recruiting teams and executives or hiring managers, anybody who's doing involved in the hiring process, we charge $5,616. The training material has a value, or what we charge of it, which is $3,590. And then the one-on-one session, when we do these calls with people, typically it's got $1,000 value. Now the bonus strategy call, because of our time value, we value it at $359. So that's a total value of $10,642, which of course you're not going to pay today, because for this workshop, this is actually probably the last live webinar that I'm doing, and this is going to go to an automated process. The workshops are going to continue, but for this, because this is the last one we're doing, the total investment is $997. So for $997, you're getting a 4-hour workshop, which, you know, that alone is 1/5 of the cost, basically. You're getting the training material. So if it was just the training material for $997 and it has a $3,500 value, would it be worth it? Absolutely. The one-on-one session, it's about equal, but is it worth it? Sure, it's a small discount. And then finally, the bonus strategy call, which I'm throwing in for free. So if anybody on this webinar, at the end of this, I'll give you the way to get a hold of me, and you can set up a time. We'll do a bonus strategy call. So of course, this is a $10,000 value, which we're selling right now for $997. Now, because this is the last webinar that we're doing, and this is going to be phased more into a course, I'm offering special pricing for you guys today of $597. So there's a coupon code that goes along with it, which is higher power. So when you sign up, all you have to do is put the coupon code higher power, one word, into the coupon code slot, and you'll get a $400 discount on the workshop. So I would love to have you guys join me for the workshop. I'd like to share a testimonial with you from my friend Hank. Hank is the CEO of an outsourced RPO. And as you guys might know, it's a brutal market. They had tons of problems with just candidates even talking to him. They would hear their voice and they would just hang up. So they were plagued with issues. They came to me and they said, hey, you know what? We need a solution for this. So I shared with them my methodology and how we work. And they hired me to train 12 of their top recruiters. So the first month after we finished training, here was the thing. Their 2 business units that their recruiters were part of were up by over 40% the following month. So they got to a point where candidates were talking to them, they were taking their calls, and they're slaying it right now. They're doing so well. I'm so proud of them. So keep it up, iPlace. You guys are cranking. So that being said, if it works for somebody who's outside of the country, it'll definitely work for you. So now's the time I want to just roll into some Q&A. I've got a few private questions that I've gotten that have come in during this webinar, and I'm going to kind of preload with some of the questions that we've gotten in the past. So let me tell you about how the training material is delivered. When you buy the workshop and you set up your bonus or your strategy call with me, the one-on-one call. The one-on-one call is the strategy call is when I share the documents with you. I will give you the workbook with all the content so you can familiarize yourself with it. And we'll go through it too, because I want to make sure that I understand your pain points. And I also want to make sure that you and I are on the same page so you understand the content prior to the workshop. How long to start seeing results? Guys, I had somebody who was in my second class who ended up developing a candidate 3 days later and placed them 5 days after that. So you can start seeing results really quickly. It depends on whether or not you buy into it, whether or not you're able to change your old rusty habits. And, it depends on you. But ultimately, I say, just like any habit, 31 days and you'll start seeing results. Do I have a workshop that's later on in the day? We have done a couple workshops now that have been later in the day for our East Coast clients. If you're interested, you can zip me off an email at rick@stridesearch.com, and I can let you know the next day in which we'll be doing that. If I get enough people interested, I'll definitely do it. But right now, we've been just sticking to the morning workshops. And then finally, I had a question from Jake. Jake, do you do private training? I do. And you can, again, sling me an email at rick@stridesearch.com. And I'm happy to arrange that with you. I'll have Andrea get in touch with you. So, guys, thank you so much for staying this long into it. I do want to just go ahead and at this point, I'll share my gift with you. And the gift is this. Hold on, let me share. Boom. All right, you should have a file to share in your chat window. All right, so this is a message that I use, and this has gotten me the 87% response rate on a LinkedIn campaign. So I like to use a little bit of humor. Here's my theory: make them laugh, make them cry, get them to do something. So how's my telepathy? Is my subject line? I usually get a lot of opens from that. Now, some people might think it's a little silly. That's not me. I wouldn't say anything like that. Yeah, but what you're saying right now isn't really working. So let's talk about using something that works for them, not for you. So you use the opener. It can be something comical. It can be something mysterious. It can be something actually thought-provoking. You have lots of different opens and lots of different opportunities, but it's got to be short, quick, and to the point to get them to go, oh, that was cool. And then you want to hit in their pain. I heard you're pretty good at what you do, and you might be a little underappreciated in your role. So I'm not sure of that, but I wanted to find out if you'd be open to hearing about something that could potentially impact you both professionally and personally. Puts them in a different mindset. Now I made them cry. Now I made them think about the fact that their job is not that great. So that's the goal here. And then, of course, we follow up with a call to action, which I don't have here, but it gets them to engage back. So if you guys are not able to download the attachment, the document, go ahead and drop me a quick email. In the subject line, just put #passive-talent. I'll know you were here, and just request the gift, and I'll send it right off to you. So it's two scripts you guys can use. I'm excited to hear your results. Now, if you need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at rick@stridesearch.com, or you can reach me via email, and that is, via phone number, and that is 949-777-5656. Now, really quickly, just to go over it, the workshop is $597 with the coupon code Higher Power, one word. And again, just to reiterate the value, you're getting over $10,000 worth of value for just $597. Now, guys, one placement, I know you hear this all the time, one placement will cover it. Actually, a tenth of one placement will cover the cost of this. So I think it's really, really important that you learn an alternative method to being able to attract the people that you need to hire. So click the sign up link and join. I would love to have you guys. And at that, I am going to say thank you. Here's my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. And I've got a bunch of questions that I have in private. So I'm going to stick around for a few minutes while I'm able to answer those questions. And thank you guys for joining me again today. Have a great day. Aloha.